Hello, Region 19 fans. Welcome back. This is part two of our interview with Troy Tucker, Director of Athletics at Northampton Community College and Executive Director of Region 19. Region 19 encompasses 4,000 student athletes, institutions from Eastern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. And this part of our podcast is focused on getting back to play in the fall or as soon as possible as a region. Troy, you mentioned in part one, and fans can go back and take a look at that, some of the measures from the NJCAA and when we expect guidance. Talk a little bit now about this, and I'll follow up on some of the things we've done, but about your thoughts on the creation of a return to play committee and what you were looking for and some of the first steps that have been taken.
Yeah, the return to play committee, I think, was vital in my mind. And, under your leadership, that group has put together some really good documents, has collected resources that are out there, and put those in a place, on our region website for our administrators to find those, access those, to use those as they put together institutional plans. And you mentioned this in part one, Brian, that a lot of this is going to come down to individual institutions. We can put all this together, but institutions are going to have to make decisions that are best for them. The return to play action plan that we referenced before, I think is a vital piece for all schools. It gave us a one voice and a collective area to put information to help athletic departments talk to their schools. But again, each one of those schools is different, different parts of the three states you mentioned that we occupy in Region 19. But I think some of the things we're starting to get maybe a little bit, we started very macro, and I don't want to say we're micro yet, but as we start to move down, now we're starting to look, in your committee specifically and the sport committees for fall sports, at some of these things like how would a soccer game look? How would a volleyball match look? And should volleyball potentially be, should we scale down the schedule where, the D3 teams play, the D3 PA teams play, the D3 GSAC teams play, and then we have a playoff? Do we implement that? But and you're seeing this all over the country, but we're trying to look and see, does it make sense for us? And does it help us, as we move forward, trying to, I don't want to say convince anybody, but make people, make a push for athletics to be here this fall, because again, with safety being the number one factor, I think the return to play committee is really providing a lot of good insight and information to allow schools to make the decision that best fits them.
Appreciate that information, and I want to take just a moment to thank the members of that committee: Chris Metzler, Thaddeus Stevens, Derek Johnson, the AD at Middlesex, Matt Cipriano from Bucks, and Kier Livingston from Mercer. And as you mentioned, the job that we've been given is to gather information from the states, from the NCAA, NAIA, NJCAA, whatever the best resources are that are out there, to provide to our region schools and give us the best chance to be ready. And part of that is preparation. So one of our goals is to make sure that each school has enough that when we get the go-ahead, if and when we get that go-ahead, you're prepared with a plan for your institution to get ready to go. It's not enough, in our opinion, for 2 or 3 schools within our region to have those resources and be ahead and say, okay, my team is ready to play. We need enough teams that everybody can have a chance to play, have a schedule, and then potentially, if there's NJCAA championships in the fall, have that chance to move on. And it's been great to see how well our region is working together in some of these things. The athletic directors pulling together, the health and safety committee led by Scott Royer at Ocean, working with the athletic trainers. That's been really outstanding, and I've seen just the way that everyone's pulled together has been inspiring to me, makes me really want to get up every day and get back to it and make sure that they have information. We've worked with 4-year colleges, local institutions. You look at what the high schools have put out and say, does that work? Anything that works, can we incorporate that to get our region ready to go in the fall? Well, one of the things the student athletes have to know, and our panel mentioned this the other day, we had a panel of student athletes that spoke to the athletic directors. It won't be business as usual, okay? And we would just talk about that for just a minute. When we get back there, the first practices, maybe your first practice was tons of conditioning, building team bonds, working closely together and bringing in that huddle at the end. It's going to look different if we get to go ahead for fall 20 to start. Troy, talk about that for just a minute.
Yeah, and I think the students we had on the other day, Brian, realize that, but I think we need to get that message out to everybody. And I talked to a group yesterday of students and coaches, and I think it's trying to make the coaches understand as well. I mean, I think the kids will understand. Some of the coaches who have been around for a while, I don't want to say I'm noticing resistance, but I think it's going to be a difficult change for them. For just so many years of doing maybe the same thing or having that same type of practice, but from wearing masks to temperature checks to daily questions about your health to social distancing to, and I'm sure at your school, same as every school, Brian, the athletic training room is a great hangout. It will no longer be a hangout. There will be one or two, or depending on the size of your athletic training room, there will be a very limited number of people in that room. Soccer practices and volleyball practices and, things of that nature in the fall will look different, when you're constantly cleaning the soccer ball or cleaning the volleyball or, again, wearing masks potentially, or, just all the differences that we have not seen before. I mean, people being social distance, if you read the Major League Baseball 67-page document they put out about not allowing the baseball players to chew seeds or tobacco or to spit, or maybe even take showers, in the team lock. There's really going to be, and we're obviously not to that point where we've made those type of decisions yet, but we just need to be prepared. One of the things that Dr. Parker said, and he was talking about championships when he mentioned this, when he talked to us, but he said the ability for regions and schools to be flexible and nimble. And I think it applies to this as well. I mean, you're going to have some flexibility and a nimbleness to you that practices may be different, and practice today and practice tomorrow might not be the same.
Yeah, absolutely. And our committee has looked really closely at what the NCAA has put out there in their resocialization of sport documents. There's some great information there that can be adapted to our level. That's part of what we're working on. And then the NJCAA expects to have their guidance out, sometime in June, we hope, that we'll be able to build on as well. So student athletes, we are working. And one thing we want to make sure that they know how proactive our region has been. And that was another thing that Dr. Parker mentioned to us, president of the NJCAA, how proud he is of our region athletic directors for being proactive. And a lot of the things that we put in place probably will spread across the country and be adapted on a national level. And we thank you for your leadership in that, but also to all the region athletic directors and administrators that are on our weekly calls. And I just wanted you to have a chance to mention that, how proactive everyone's been in this measures.
Yeah, I mean, we can't really thank them enough. I mean, we have 31 member institutions. A lot of our athletic directors serve in dual roles at their schools, maybe are doing student life and athletics. The fact that they are on every week, very rarely does a school miss. Schools are providing information back. They're engaged. As I mean, we've had, some of our Zoom calls are in the low 70s in terms of the number of people who are getting on our calls, which is terrific. I mean, it just shows a level of engagement that I think is way above some other regions in the country. And that's not to make a negative of any other region, but when I do hear, some regions who have not gotten together at all, or if you look on our calls and you see some of the individuals on our calls who are leaders in other regions, I think it speaks a lot to what we have in this region, what the people are doing, and what they're bringing back. And you said whether it's sports committees, I mean, how many weeks ago now was it the volleyball committee came back with some ideas, and I know the soccer committees come back with ideas, and now your committee's really taken that lead on being an information source for our ADs. But yeah, we wouldn't be where we were if we didn't have the engagement of our 31 member institutions to get this information and be willing to listen to the information and understand, that there will be a need, again, as we've said, to be, flexible and nimble this fall to make this work. And the other part of that, and I think the group is pretty good and it's going to take some pushing, but, again, another big thing that you and I have discussed is that we are all just born with the play to win mentality. I'm not telling anybody to get rid of that. It's probably, it's inherent in us. It's probably not something we're going to be able to get rid of. But for this year, we really need to flip the switch a little bit and be able to say that playing is winning. And if we can play this fall, if we can get games in an organized, safe fashion, we have won. And that's going to be hard for coaches who were there to win national championships. And I'm not trying to change their dreams and goals. But for this year, you should be very satisfied with yourself as a coach if you can get your team on the field, play 8 to 10 soccer games, keep your kids engaged, keep them in school. That's a real win, and it's something we should celebrate if we're able to do that.
And we hope to be able to. And through the years, our region has been leaders in success, and that's been great to see. But I agree with you. The goal right now is to pull together, get the athletes on the field, on the courts, and into competition. That's got to be top priority. We wanted to finish this part of our podcast with some final thoughts. The group that's been the most impacted by this, by online education, by having the spring seasons cut short, are the student athletes. They mean the most to us. We're really proud of all their efforts to finish strong in the classroom, and our coaches that do such a great job. When I see a coach post about their team GPA, they're posting about their graduates. There's been some great things on social media. Must just be a really point of pride for you to oversee, the over 4,000 students, the 20 championship sports that we offer, and send us off, and we'll be back maybe for a future update when there's some more decisions. But just tell us how proud you are of everybody in Region 19.
Well, you're right. To see the GPA numbers that have come out, and, I think a lot of us felt that these students went through a lot going online, and to get the grades that they've got, to see the pride in the coaches, to what the student athletes have overcome to achieve at that level this semester. I couldn't be prouder. I couldn't be prouder of the ADs, what they've done. And another group that we want to make sure we mention that you highlighted throughout this is the officials, a group that really got cut short this year, who play a vital role for us. So, yeah, this region to me speaks volumes. I love what we're doing. I love being part of this region and, the group that we're working with. And I think we're headed in the right direction. And, I'm cautiously optimistic, right now that we're going to be able to pull this off and have sports, and again, we live in a world where things can change. You and I will get off this call and things could change. But right now I think we're trying to be all as optimistic as possible while being realistic that we can try to have fall sports this year.
Troy, I thank you for all the great information. I'm sure our student athletes, coaches, and institutions will be happy to watch this, and happy that you gave us some hope there and thought for our fall seasons. And fans, make sure to follow us on our website and social media, and we'll be back with a future Region 19 update. Thank you.